So today I'm joined by Jon Shephard. Jon is the founder and owner of Matches Sports Bar, a family-friendly sports bar and grill in Ashford, and opening a second location in Canterbury. So welcome, Jon.
Hi, you right?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Jon. And yourself?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. Recovering from a sports injury. Pulled my hamstring on the weekend, but still smiling.
Good, good, good. Well, not good that you've injured yourself, but good that you're still smiling. So look, Jon, tell us a bit more about Matches Sports Bar and what you do.
Yeah, so I've born and bred, lived in Ashford. Um, I've gone away, of course. I've worked in London and I've gone to university. But Ashford has always been my hometown, and there I identified a huge gap in the market there. Before I left for university, it was a great place to go, a vibrant nightlife and lots of friends, lots of family around, and a good place to be. But I went to university. It opened my eyes. Obviously, the world's a bigger place, and it was a fantastic place to be. I went to Lincoln, and yeah, it was a great 3 years. And I came back to Ashford, and I thought, yeah, this place is really lacking
Okay.
what I thought was a good place to go for a night out. And the old and when we're in sort of Ashford. The plans were always to go out to other places. So where are we going tonight, lads? All right, let's go to Canterbury. Let's go to Maidstone. Let's go to London.
Mhm.
And that kind of grew and grew. And to be honest, Ashford um, kind of became uh, a bit down. And but a gap in the market um, really showed itself, and I kind of identified that with the fact that I thought it needed a premium, uh, new, exciting place for people to go out in. And there's a lot of affluence in Ashford, so it's a commuter town. Um, People commute to and from London on quite high paid jobs. They can afford to pay 7 grand for the commute costs for the privilege of going up to London and back. But when I was looking around, they weren't going out in Ashford. They were either staying at home, going out in London, or going out anywhere else apart from Ashford. And I thought, no, let's try and change that. Let's try and get people who live in affluent people who live in Ashford out, enjoying their own town, and give them the space that they want, crave, and deserve. So that's where kind of Matches was born. It was always in the back of my mind. I mean, I've got a passion for socializing and going out and having a good time with my friends. And but I kept losing friends. People kept going out to London. They kept moving out to London. Sorry, they kept moving away, moving to different countries. And I thought, do you know what? Let's try and change that. No one else is kind of doing this in Ashford. Let's give it a go myself. And then Elwick Place was built, which is a £75 million leisure development in the centre of town.
Mhm.
And I thought, do you know what? A sports bar in that location would work really well, I think. And so I've gone and sort of taken all my past experiences and gone, what do I like about going out? What do I not like? What's good about um, being with friends? What really excites me? And so I kind of put it all together into a business plan. Um, Sent that off to the landlords who were Ashford Borough Council, and who bought into it. And lo and behold, after sending off a kind of a perspective kind of business plan, all of a sudden it became real. And I was like, oh God, okay, let's do this then. And so I put all my previous skills of being my previous background was I went to university, did marketing and advertising,
Mhm.
and then worked in big kind of London advertising agencies. Um, was sick of the commute, so came back and I got a job as the marketing manager for Ashford Designer Outlet.
Mhm.
And that really opened my eyes into the local economy, but also the world of bricks and mortar retail
Yeah.
and driving footfall into a space, and all the other sort of ancillary things that go with running a business in the hospitality industry, such as health and safety, retail and standards, team management, over and above just pure marketing and advertising. So I was there for eight years, and it really rounded my skill set in terms of backing myself to go and open a business in the hospitality industry, where, to be honest, I hadn't had any experience before. I kind of backed myself to be able to create the brand and advertise the venue to the local community, especially with my contacts and my experience in London, but specifically in Ashford.
So why did you decide to own your own business? Because as you quite rightly sort of said there, John, there's a number of things. Running and owning a business is very different to being an employee. And some people want to do it and do it. Some people want to do it and never do it.
Yes.
And some people can't think of anything worse than being a business owner. So why was owning a business and something that you always wanted to do?
Do you know what? It's a really good question, because I have always wanted to own my own business. I was always the ideas guy. So I used to come up with ideas every single week of a different business that could change the world or could revolutionize a particular industry or a brand new product that the world has never seen before. And they are much more difficult to realize, those sorts of ideas, than versus opening a sports bar. So I suppose my mindset was, I'm fed up of being that ideas guy. I think that's and the revolutionary kind of my head was, my ideas were crazy big, and I thought, let's dial it down a little bit. Let's look at your experience. Let's look at your network. Let's look at your kind of skill set that you've got. How can you dial that down into something that's a little bit more achievable, but also something that you're passionate about? And it kind of transpired that owning a bar is a great thing. It's a great thing to say, and I'm very proud to say that I do. But I think the origin story is a point to myself to prove that I could do it, but also a need to get out there on my own and do something for myself and prove it to myself that I could do it, and also kind of create a legacy that I could look back on in years to come, to go, I actually did that. Too many times I had a great idea, but just sat on it or just forgot about it or told 10 people and then never kind of followed it through. But this one just stuck with me, and it always has stuck with me. And whilst at the outlet, the opportunity just became clearer and clearer that the business I thought would work. And it so happened it did, and I've managed to sort of get hope in 2 weeks' time opening a second bar within 2 years of opening. And if you told me that when I started, I would have bitten your hand off. But I had the confidence through years and years of information gathering. It wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction. It was kind of a bubbling up inside me all along, and it kind of exploded into what would be a premium, family-friendly, unique sports bar concept that I created from my previous background and my previous work.
And look, that's great. And I like what you sort of shared there in terms of, because why everybody's reason that they start a business is different. It could be financial freedom. It could be that they want more time for themselves or from their family. It could be that they don't like being told what to do. But what you sort of said there is to prove it to yourself and to create that legacy, which is great. So you mentioned earlier on about the different demands of actually running a business. So if you had to start from square one again, because when did you start to open your first business, Jon?
Well, yeah, it was a long process, I won't lie, because we had the pandemic right in the middle of it all.
Right. So was it just before the pandemic, or?
Yeah, well, the business plan was created before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So that took a year and a half of replanning and refocusing it for when the restrictions were lifted,
Okay.
to then open what was going to be Matches before to what Matches is now, into the new normal, as we were calling it back then.
So taking that into account, what you've learned over the last sort of like few years, what would you do differently?
In terms of physical actions, I don't actually think I would do much differently, to be honest.
Okay,
I
great.
think it was quite a natural process for this bar to open. It's a really strange one to explain, because I feel like the stars kind of aligned for me for Matches to open. So, for example, I worked for the designer outlet, as I've said before, and at that moment, one of the restaurants unfortunately closed down due to lockdown. So I was afforded the opportunity to gather some of their stuff to open up Matches to start with, or I would have a contact whose cousin's brother owned a intellectual property firm who assisted me with that side of things. I had a friend who owned who was a director in a licensing company who helped me with licensing. I had a brother's mate who worked for a food supplier. So it really was a really interesting journey, where my network around me really helped create Matches to what it was. I suppose the one thing I would change, is I would have enjoyed the journey a lot more and not thought about the end destination. So it's very easy to say that in hindsight, because before it was my very first one. It was opening a sports bar in my hometown. I use this analogy a lot, actually. I've got a couple of other friends who run successful businesses, and one of them is a packaging company, and one of them is a physiotherapist. Now, you walk down the road and you wouldn't necessarily know my friends' companies. They're kind of they're not as exposed to the market as what mine is, and that scared me, because it was like, here's Matches, here's my entire soul into a business, come to my business and judge what I have done, essentially. I want to give you a good time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, exactly. It's very visible. What you've sort of created, and look, again, what you sort of said there is, about the people that you sort of support and advice from. And I think that's really important to, when, in life in general, but also particularly when you're setting up a business and running your business, is to surround yourself by great people that you can get that advice and support from, because we're not we're not experts in everything. You know, as you said, your background is marketing. So, you know, and I'm sure you're, you know, a very, very good, you know, marketing person, but that advice on, you know, on intellectual property and also running a business, you know, in terms of, you know, employing people and the financial side of it, surrounding yourself by those great people. So what would you say? What would you say your biggest learning has been in since you've been in business? What, you know, taking that into account, what have you learned the most?
This might actually contradict a little bit what I'm saying, but it's meant in a different context. But one of the things, a really good lesson that I've learned is that you can do it by yourself if you need to. Now, I don't mean through ignorance and not listening to other people and not asking and reaching out for advice. What I mean by that is that no one is going to care as much about your business as what you do. And no one is going to think the way that you think in terms of all the other context behind why you make a decision regarding your business. So there's some key things where it's not necessarily common sense, but with a bit of thought and a bit of planning and a bit of just thinking really strategically and really focusing on your why and your business and the bigger picture, lots of the things that need to get done, which require some sort of specialism or some sort of real key action, you can do yourself. Because if I was to employ a consultant in a certain field, by the time I'd sat down and got through, I just felt like I've done it before in a few other instances, and I was like, do you know what? By the time I've explained this to you, and you've kind of taken it the wrong way, or you've not understood it as correctly as what I wanted to put across to you, I could have just done this myself. And actually, I already know the answer. I just need someone to do it. So it would be taking a step back and almost backing myself a lot more to make key decisions for the business which are correct without necessarily having key experience in that. And I don't mean that in a way where I would ignore advice from others. It would almost be different to that and say, get as much advice as possible, but at the end of the day, it's your decision, it's your business, and you can do it yourself.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that's great advice and a great learning. I always say, you know, look, when I coach business owners, is most business owners already know what they should be doing. They're potentially just not doing it for a number of reasons. Those reasons, and one of those might be, as you said now, that it's just the confidence of having that bit, you know, making that decision. You know, they're procrastinating. You know, generally the other reasons will be time. You know, they're saying, I know what I should be doing, but I haven't got the time to do it. Or I know what I should be doing, but I actually don't know how to do it. I know what I should be doing, but I don't know how to do it. But yeah, you're right. I recently was reminded of something that Arnold Schwarzenegger sort of said, and he said, nobody is self-made. You know, we're all made up of the things that we hear, the things that we see, what we read, the people around us. But it's then what we do with that. It's what we do with that information that makes it. So yeah, no, I think that's great. So and so what would you say to someone that's thinking about going into business?
What I would say is that it's definitely not for everybody. And you have to really be true to yourself to see if you have the personality and I would say that a real strong reason why you're doing it, which isn't based purely on I want money,
Mm-hmm.
and it isn't purely based on real hygiene factors such as I want to spend more time with my family, or I don't want to work for someone else. Now, they definitely can make up the reasons for opening a business. Absolutely, they are good reasons, but they can't be your key reasons. I believe that one of the key reasons you have to be able to talk passionately about why you're running a business and what that business means to not just you, but just to the people that will eventually become your customers.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it a couple of times actually, where I've seen a business where actually I'll tell a different example. It's when I used to employ in my previous positions. I used to employ sort of marketing executives, for example, and it was back in Ashford again, and a key journey for a marketing person who worked at the outlet was they've worked in London, but they want to work closer to home.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask that question, and I would specifically wait to hear them say, I want to work closer to home."
Mm-hmm.
And I'd immediately follow that up with, okay, great, but why do you want to work in this business?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't have a passion for retail or or fashion or leisure, and they were just doing it for real, as I said, like real basic reasons, they wouldn't work. And it's the same for opening a business. If you're opening it because you're fed up of working for somebody else, let that be one of your reasons, but not your main reason. Your main reason is it has to give you that real fire in your belly when you talk about what your actual business is, and then that will give you the confidence. And evidently, that it will, when you're creating your business, it will be the reason why you make those decisions, why you get up in the morning, why you want to make it bigger and better and eventually more profitable,
Mm-hmm.
which is when the money will come afterwards. But
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to have a passion in what you're doing and what your business is, because if you don't, and I go back to my example, so I had all of these great ideas, but when I would say them, I'd like, but I wouldn't be bothered to do that. I just can't. I can't envision myself doing that for the rest of my life. Yeah, it's a great business, but it takes a hell of a lot of time, money, and effort to start something up like that. I'd fall at the first hurdle. I think you know truly within yourself whether the idea you have, A, is good, and then B, if you've got that drive to get past that first hurdle and then get past the second one and then get past the next 10 to get to that destination that you can see at the end, which shouldn't be, oh, I'm rich and I've got a big house and loads of cars. It should be, no, I've created a business that's truly something in my that truth that I've created, and it's your legacy as opposed to,
Yeah, look,
oh
I
yeah,
think
more
it
money.
goes back to what you mentioned earlier in terms of the reason why people sort of start a business. And I think the key thing that I've picked up from what you sort of said there is making sure that whatever that reason is you've got a passion for, you've got
Mm,
that fire in your belly for, because being a business owner is tough. That's why 60% of businesses fail within the first 5 years, 90% fail within the first 10 years, because being a business owner is tough. And what you've sort of said there is actually during those tough times, those difficult times, those challenging times, you've got to have that fire in your belly that's going to go, actually, no, I'm going to carry on through this. I'm going to continue because it's something that you're passionate about, whatever that may be, whether it's a legacy, whether it is creating a future for your family. For some people, it might be about being rich. Some people, they just want to be rich, but it can't be, oh, I'd just like to be rich.
Yeah.
It's got to. I read a book some years ago called The Element, and there's a story in it where the author of the book was watching his brother play in a band, and I think I might misquote this slightly, but you'll get the gist of it. But and he was watching, I think it was the keyboard player, and when the keyboard player came off stage, he said to the keyboard player, "I would love to be able to play the keyboards like you play that." And the keyboard player said, "No, you wouldn't." And he said, no, I would love to play the keyboards like you play the keyboards. And he said, no, you wouldn't. He said, if you'd love to play the keyboards like I play the keyboards, you'd be practicing every single day for 7 days a week like I do. You would like to play the keyboards like me, but you wouldn't love to play the keyboards like me. Otherwise, you'd be doing what I do. And I think that's a real key, to what you've been saying there. You've got to have that passion of why you're doing it, that vision of the future in terms of what you've got to create, which is really clearly what you've got there, Jon. You know what you've got a vision in your head. This is what you want to create. This is why you want to create it. And it's more for you. It's more than just money. It's about community. It's about a legacy and all of those sort of things. So Jon, what would you, I always like to sort of end with this particular question. What's the best advice that you would give an 18-year-old you?
An 18-year-old me. I would say that stop comparing yourself to other people, because I started my business a bit later on in life, and I saw a lot of my peers go off and do their own great things in their own businesses, and I always used to want that and almost use it as a, it was kind of like, oh, I'm really motivated, like to own my own business just like those guys. But really what it was demotivating me, because I didn't have an idea. I didn't know what I did. I wasn't experienced enough to open my own business at the time. I didn't really know myself as well as what I should have done. But I always knew I had something in me that would eventually transpire to owning something that I've created. So it would be a case of stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop a bit like your analogy with the keyboard. Stop wanting what other people have, because at the end of the day, you're on your own journey. You're your own person. Back yourself, and be more confident in going, do you know what? That's great for you. However, I'm doing this at the time being because in the future, this is where I want to be. It's not my time right now, but it will eventually come when the time is right. And
like it. I think that's great advice, Jon. Sorry, go on.
And that's actually what happened for me. Even though it was much later on for me, that it proved true for me, and I look at matches now, and there was no other time for that bar to open apart from when it did. If it was any earlier, it wouldn't be the same. It just wouldn't be what it is today. When it was opened, it was when it was meant to be open.
Brilliant. Great advice, Jon. Great advice. So, well, look, Jon, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today and sharing more about, your business and also your journey. So thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you very much.